Now I'm looking for my special guest. You guys are going to love him if I can find him on here. While I'm looking for him, I'm going to play. Let me see. Sinqua. His name is Sinqua Walls. You may know him from, he was on Teen Wolf. He was also in the movie, Clint Eastwood movie, that Paris movie, you know that? And then he was also, he was in Power. But now he has a new show that's on BET, and I just want him to talk about it because it's fabulous. If I can find him. Hold on, if I can find you, Sinqua. Sinqua. Just request to join me, Sinqua, okay? So, let me see if I can find him. Because sometimes y'all be like, pig me. You know what? On Friday, I promise it'll just be us, okay? But I really wanted to talk to him because he's a fabulous young man. And I think you guys will be interested in him. And if I can find him. Hey, Tina. I see you, Amy, Michelle, Shorty Love. I see you. Okay, so I'm still looking for him. Let's see if I can get him. Ooh. All of y'all want to go live? Stop it. So I get the special guest in. Hey, your sister Ben, your sis Yossi Ben. Hey, Becky. I see you. Let me see. I don't see him, Alex. Sinqua. I think you have to follow me in order for it to happen. So I don't see him yet. So we're gonna let him let me see. There he is. Okay. I see you somewhere in here. Let's see. I see you. Wait. There he is. Oh shoot. You dropped off. Damn it. I tell you, this technology. I see you, Nick Jones. Okay, add one more time. Your baby sister's name, Rosie. Hey, Rosie. Why you tell me your baby sister's name? I will pick you, Tina. Tina, I have picked you before. 3481. I know I picked you before. I know I have. Okay, let me see if I can see him again. I just saw you. There you go. Here we go. Think I got him now. Okay, thank you guys for being patient. I love you too. In NG Win 224. Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, our star for today. Like I said, you've known him from Teen Wolf, and he played 50 Cent's son in Power, but now he has this exciting new show. It's on BET, y'all, and you know, I'm so proud of BET because they trying. But I want to show them, Sinqua, before we talk, I want to show them just a little bit of the trailer because it comes on tonight. It's called American Soul, and we're going to talk about it. But here is, let me see. Here we go. I keep hearing Soul Train. That's Sinqua, y'all. Look at Sinqua. That's him. Elton John. Cornelius. You really comparing us to Bandstand right now? Ultron shit's here? You know it does. Why aren't you more careful of Gerald? I know Gerald. I like Gerald. I started to get a sense of you too. Stay away from Don. And Soul Train's off limits. What are you doing talking to my dad, sis? American Soul is the latest, hottest. I'm just so happy to be talking to the star who plays Don Cornelius. How are you today, Sinqua Walls?
I'm good. I finally figured out how to work this live.
It's okay. It's okay. I totally get it. I totally understand. First of all, how have you been doing with all of this through the quarantine and everything? How have you been?
Right, right. No, I think the interesting thing is that for the beginning of quarantine, it was about what? Mental preparedness, spiritually grounding myself and trying to be focused, be supportive to myself and my family members, people that also had family members who were struggling with it. And then our movement happened. And then that became even more heightened and amplified. And like, how can I be a part of the process in a supportive and a helpful way? So it's evolved, but while also trying to stay safe at the same time.
Yeah, I saw you out there protesting with our buddy Nick Jones Jr. Shout out
Yeah,
to Nick Jones, our
that's no,
writer.
yo.
What was
Nick,
that
dude,
experience
like
like?
literally, I texted him in the morning. I said, we got to go. And he was like, what time? When I said, right now. So he was
Like,
like,
get
all right.
up!
He was like, all right, let me throw some clothes. I'm on my way. Because it's
It was
interesting.
great.
One of the things that I always think is important, and we talked about yesterday, is that, you know, the idea of being an active activist and the idea of being supportive in this movement in the right way. And funny enough, when this all first happened, I was actually attacked by a protester the first night.
Really?
Yeah, I was attacked by a protester the first night, ran up to me and was like yelling things at me and talking about be a human and all these things. And I thought it was interesting because I was like, how is this supporting the people you're supposed to support? He wasn't a person of color. And I was surprised by that because the voice was supposed to be for us and for the movement, yet it was malicious in a way. So
Wow.
that's when I started just wanting to create a conversation with myself and amongst my friends to do more research so that when we do go out, we're actively going out in support of what we're supporting.
Right. I totally agree with that, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing is that it'll keep progressing, but also, you know, we have to have balance, I feel.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about that at the beginning of this session is that, you know, a lot of us, we've been protesting for 2 weeks, but we've been protesting for years about this. But
Yes.
we also have to have our downtime.
Yes.
And so while I was having my downtime, I started binge watching on BET On Demand, American Soul. And I had heard about it. I was like, let me check this out. And I was like, and I love it. So first of all, for people that don't know your fabulous work, kind of introduce yourself and then let's move into that.
All right. What's up, everybody? I am Sinqua Walls. I currently play the character of Don Cornelius on American Soul. You may have seen me on shows like Power, Once Upon a Time, Teen Wolf, Secret Life of the American Teenager. The list goes on, thankfully. You know, I've always said I had a long, short career because I hit the ground Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
But it's been a blessing. But, you know, most people currently know me as Sean on Power. And they expect me to be Sean on Power when they meet me, and then they get a pleasant surprise when I'm not him.
What was that like working with 50 Cent as his son?
Listen, I can honestly say 50 is probably one of those people in the industry that I've learned the most from. From a talent, from a work ethic perspective, and as a businessman from the jump. He took me under his wing. And I remember when I first got to New York and I get this call and they're like, 50 wants to sit down with you. And I was nervous. I literally was like, oh, okay.
Did you owe him some money?
I didn't owe him any, you know, listen, I learned a long time ago, don't borrow money from people when you can't pay it back. If you don't have it, don't borrow it, you know?
Exactly.
So I remember we walked into the office and I was like, you know, nervous. And then the first thing he does is start telling me a story. And I knew it was to make me more comfortable. Mm-hmm. So it was more so I could get the vibe, because we had to play father and son. We had to have a lot of like really close moments. And I remember the first thing he said when we started talking about the scenes was, what do you think? And I never forgot that question, because here's 50 Cent, you know, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, has done so much in like business and entertainment. And even in this space, he was still a teammate. And he was like, well, what do you think about the scene? What do you think we're trying to say? And it gave me a voice. It allowed me to have a voice in the process of creativity, even though he was my EP. And from the jump, from that point on, he'd give me advice, give me perspective. You know, that big brotherly love and nudge, like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And I remember him saying, like, you know, he's like, you're a phenomenal actor. And I was like, thanks, see, I really appreciate that. And he was like, no, it's a lot of people who can go from young. He said, there's a lot of people who can go from young to playing older, but it's not a lot of people who go from older to playing younger. And I'm talking to you when we go grab, like, you know, grab lunch or dinner or whatever, and I'm talking to my boy. And then as soon as we hop in the scene, I'm seeing my son. Yeah, it was dope, though. It was dope.
Oh, I was so happy, and it was just a wonderful, role for you. But I'm excited about this new role of American Soul. and explain to people a little bit about what American Soul is about.
So American Soul is the chronicling of Don Cornelius, the creator and host of Soul Train, and what he went through to get the show off the ground. A lot of people know the show because it ran for so many years, nationally syndicated, but they don't know what it took for him to actually make that happen. Not only in TV and film as it is today, which is one of the hardest things to do to have a long-running show, but as a Black man during that time, one of the few people during that time to own more than 50% of his own show. Don didn't have any partners. His only partner that he had initially was one of his best friends, George Johnson, who came up with him. And through this, we see all the trials, all the tribulations, and we really unpack who the man is. And there was so much in there,
What tell me about the audition process with you, playing him. How was that for you?
It was a very organic process. If anybody, Robbie Reed, casting director.
Yes, I love Robbie.
So it was funny because I was doing another show, and this was probably 2 years before when they were in development. And I was doing another show, and we were at Upfronts. And for anybody that doesn't know what Upfronts is, it's when a lot of shows go and we kind of talk about our shows and we get advertisers to see us and the press gets to meet us and really just decide, get a feel for what we're going to be doing on the day. And when we were at the after party, mind you, I'm already on another show.
Right.
And Robbie goes, "How tall are you?" And I was like, "Well, I'm 6'2". She goes, okay, that'll work." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." 2 years before, right?
Wow.
And so fast forward to 2 years later, I was doing a movie called Otherhood with Angela Bassett, who played my mom in the movie. And I remember my agent and I were talking about what's the next project, what's the next shows and everything like that. And the script for American Soul came in. And I read it and I loved it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. But obviously, again, I didn't even know all of the lineage of Don. I didn't know all of the truth of Don. And that was been the fun part, to meet his friends and people who knew him. Was like, yo, Don was like this. He was the dude that literally would slap somebody. He would cuss you out real quick. I learned all that. But before I was like, oh, it's going to be the guy on Saturdays. And he's just going to be that guy. So I didn't know what the tone of the show was going to be. So I ended up having a conversation with the producers. And I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good. But I still was on the fence. Right.
Wow.
They were like, send him another script. And I was just grateful that they really already had me in mind for the embodiment of the character. So why I say it was organic is because I truly believe what God has for you,
yes,
no one can take from you.
That's right.
And you may not know what you're called to do, but he's going to tell you in the long run. So no matter how many times I was unsure, he was more like, that's cool. I'm going to let you come back around. I'm going to wait right here. I'm going to let the opportunity wait right here so that when you finally wake up, and I finally just woke up and I said, you know what, this is for me. I had an opportunity to go to LA and do the chemistry read with everybody and talk more about the project. And it was like, when I say it was organic, and I'm so grateful for it, it was serendipitous because Robbie championed me more than anything. She called me multiple times and was like, hey, I'm just checking in to see how you're feeling. Hey, I'm just checking in to see how you're doing. And I knew it was like to nudge me forward. At first I was like, no, Robbie, I don't know, Robbie. I just, I don't want to I don't want to not do the story justice. I don't want to not do John justice. She was like, oh, okay. All right, I'll talk to you later. And then she just called me the next day.
Right. She just kept on, persevered. Thank you, Robbie Reed, for that.
Yeah, man. I'm so grateful for her. She called me so many times and did not let me think otherwise.
Now, Don's son, Tony Cornelius, is the executive too. He's the executive because you basically was Shamar Moore type of Soul Train. You wasn't Don.
Right. So I wasn't Don. I saw Don on the very tail end, but most of my Soul Train experience was Shamar. And to even hear those stories about how Shamar got the job, and one thing about Shamar that I think people don't realize, and I learned even from hearing about him on Soul Train, but even having friends that work with him on his current show, is how diligent and consistent he is. So the biggest thing, Don didn't play any games. And what you see on American Soul is that Don plays no games. And Shamar understood that. So it was still, even though it was Shamar's show, it was Don's ship.
Right. Right.
He didn't mess with Mr. Cornelius.
Right. And you can tell that. That's why I want people to check it out. Right now, it's American Soul. It's on demand, the first season. Now you have a second season. So far, by playing this role, what has surprised you the most about Don Cornelius?
So many things. I mean, I think from the biggest thing, and we're in an era now about where people are really conscious of mental health and really, tapped into what it takes to be a full human, which is, mind, body, and soul. And I didn't know all the mental elements that he struggled with throughout the process of creating and filming Soul Train. And we break that down in American Soul from Alzheimer's and other things, but he still fought through those elements to host that show for as many years as he did, while still going through all those disabilities and having a debilitating illness. So for me, that was the biggest thing. And then just how smooth and cool he was. That brother was, his son, Tony, is a lot like him. And I always say from the first meeting I had with Tony, if you are your father's son, then I'm going to steal your mannerisms and then I'll be doing him justice.
Exactly.
So I
want people, it comes on tonight, y'all. You have to check it out because the mannerisms that you pick up, just the look, the suits. I want to give it up to BET because them wigs, them afros that look like it's growing out your scalp.
Oh yeah. Our hair department is on fire, and my brother Jason in the hair department, that's my guy. And from top to bottom, it was a collaborative process, but they were so specific. They were so specific, and I mean, down to the T. And when you talk about, for our world, we know about continuity. So if people don't know what continuity is, that's what when you see a show, you don't notice everything staying consistent, the hair staying consistent, scene to scene. But they were on it. I'm talking like cut flying into the afro. I'll be walking the set, and someone would have picked, spraying it down, making sure, comparing the photo. Afro tinted was great.
Well, you know what, and it goes when we're talking about telling our own stories. I've been telling people that it is important for us to tell our own stories, because if we don't, they'll tell the story the way they want to tell it, and that's other people. But by doing this, it's also about having Black creatives that understand that, hey, that afro got to look right. What I mean? The dialogue has to be correct.
Correct.
Can you speak, because you've been in this industry for so long, the importance of having Black creators?
I think the authenticity of having Black creators telling a Black story is so important. And that's where I always say, really, really, truly shout out to the team at BET, team at Jesse Collins, everybody, because they cared so much. And it's funny because everybody's intentions were the same, but you know how you put a family together and everyone's movement is different? You know what I mean?
I know.
BET was the big brother that would show up and be like, I don't like it, do it different, right? Jesse Collins would come in and be like, oh man, that's cool, but it's not good enough yet. Real smooth. And so the fact that everyone cares so much is what made it so great. But you have to care because it's our stories. And it's so important to have people who that's resonant of who they are telling those stories, because they're going to make sure that it's authentic. They're going to make sure that it's real. And down to myself and all the other cast, I mean, it's a blessing for us, but we were chosen because of attention to detail that they wanted. So.
Well, I want to ask you, let's get in a little bit, them sex scenes. You do a lot of sex scenes, and I just love it. And you be showing the chest, and woohoo, there you go. Yeah. Don is sexy. I mean, but just as being an actor, can you just elaborate on the sex scenes? That's what I want to know.
I'm going to say it's funny because, that's it graduated, right? I think about the show, when I was on Secret Life of the American Teenager, it referenced sex. We didn't show it. Right.
Yeah.
And then when I was on Teen Wolf, we talked about it, but we didn't really show it. We would allude to it. Right? and then when I went and did Power, it was like, are we doing it? And my family, my sisters, Naturi and Lala, right? It was, those were my first sex scenes. So as much as it was all new to all of us, it was very new to me, where it was that much exposure, right? And I remember Lala telling me one time, she said, hey, look, I'm going to tell you right now, this scene about to make you hot in these streets. You're welcome. I'll never forget when she told me that. I was like,
oh my God.
And now I'm like a vet when it comes to sex. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. What are we doing? Yeah, all right, bet.
Right. I love it. I love it because I think that just like you have all the other, sex symbols, I think it's important that we have our own set of sex symbols.
Right.
And I know that it's hard, but and it's just we just enjoy it. I just want to say thank you.
Like I'm happy to be a sex symbol. Thank you for seeing me. I'll take it. Whatever I need to do to continue to carry the torch, I will do it. I will do it.
Oh my goodness. Getting back to American Soul, season 2. Season 1 was sort of like an introduction. Right. Season 2, what can we expect from season 2?
Wow. Season 2, I think a continuation of seeing what it takes for Don to keep the show afloat. I mean, once you have success, the hardest thing to do is keep it. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about it is I was watching so many different documentaries through the time of filming this, from the Defiant Ones with Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, mm-hmm. Conversations with Jay-Z, and you hear, and the Quincy Jones doc, and people talk about all the time, success is almost easy right out the gate, but it's harder to keep it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that we all, like, people should understand when they aspire to something, is like, once you get there, the work begins all mm-hmm. over again. And so for Don, season 1 was getting Soul Train off the ground. But now he's famous. Now he's successful. So, last season was an ambition, and now this season is all new money. Last season he had a Benz. This season he has a Ferrari. His chest hairs are out a little bit more. He had no chains. Now he got 5 chains. And and the continuation of his mental, because it started to deteriorate really quickly. So you see him battle all those things mentally that were taking him out while he still had to film the show. Wow. And the community around him that came together to keep him afloat. A lot of people during that time didn't know outside of Soul Train he struggled with so much. So you see, and then you see that he's still dealing with a racial America where he still is a black man, even with success, and has to keep something afloat.
Because the storyline that I was amazed at is Dick Clark, who he was beloved by a lot of us. We didn't know what was going on. See, people don't know what be going on behind the scenes of these shows.
On everything.
Can you speak a little bit on what was happening with that, as far as Dick Clark and the relationship he had with Don Cornelius?
Right, and that's a continuation from season 1, where you see that Dick honestly offered Don millions of dollars to have full rights and own Soul Train. And Don passed on that because he said he didn't want to do wrong by his people. Mm-hmm. But Dick was one of those guys. I mean, he was it. He was the tentpole. He was the man. He was the man of all men in the industry at that time, specifically for his show. And so he didn't like the competition.
Right.
And feeling entitled to being the top dog, he did a lot in what would be games of war mm-hmm. to try to not allow Don to shine the way that he ultimately did.
Yeah, he ultimately even tried to produce his own version of a Soul Train called it Soul.
Yeah, and Don confronted him on that. And the funny thing is, like, there's versions of Don's confrontation.
Yeah,
you know, and I like to think like Don is like a powerful locomotive.
Yes.
You hear it coming, but you don't see it. But mm-hmm. once you see it, it's too late. Mm-hmm. So once he said, "Man, I'm gonna need you to take this show off the air," that was a phone call.
Right.
Then he sent one of his guys over and say, "Man, I'm gonna need you to take this phone off this show off the air." That was a message. And once Don showed up, it was like, "I'm not asking anymore. I'm gonna tell you."
That's why I'm telling people, you have to see it. It is so good. But also, you have that aspect, but then you also have the aspect of, especially in season 1, of showing him trying to get the show off the ground, where he had a lot of the black acts, like Gladys Knight, that didn't know him. And this is and I want people to see it, because there are people out here that's trying to start their own business, that's trying to get, trying to pick themselves off the bootstraps. I want this to inspire them, and to see that there was a community that Don developed, and that he was able to get the acts that he needed, because without the acts, he wouldn't get the advertisement. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
And like you said, I think the thing that people need to understand first and foremost is being successful in creating anything, even for us, is entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And that's being entrepreneurial, and that's having a dream that nobody else knows about, that you want to see it through before anyone ever sees it going to come to fruition. Mm. And so Don's legacy began with having to sell people on a dream that he had no tangibility to show. But that's the process of success, is really putting together a team of allies that believe in your vision just as much as you do to help you see it through. And it was one step at a time. And the thing about Don was that he believed it so defiantly that no one was going to tell him no. So it was always, I think, because of the era, because of the time, specifically with Gladys Knight, they had such a large friendship, a huge friendship that spanned over his entire life. They all understood the movement of change. So he got people a part of his vision. But that's the same thing that correlates. If you want to start a restaurant, if you want to start, you know, your own gym, if you want to start, you know, your own car wash, you can't do it alone. You need your allies, but you need people who believe in you just as much as you do in your voice, and find those people and align with those people. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's in front of the camera, behind the camera, it's all the same.
Yeah, definitely. You know, what is it, parting, that you would want people to know about you?
Right. Wow. Ooh. Know about Sinqua. Oh man. I would say that what you see is what you get. You know, I think so many times we talk about this in the industry. I think people put on a facade and put on an image, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not my movement.
Right.
So I think that what you see is what you get. I'm the same person that my grandmother and my mother raised. I'm gonna be the same person. I strive for that because I have to live up to their expectations. You're not gonna get, you know, a different man on Monday that you're gonna get on Sunday. You know, you get the same brother every single day. And I was just work in progress, and I try to get better. But that's what you see is what you get.
Well, you know what? I can't wait to see more of your work, Sinqua Walls. You're just a delight, and you are that shining beacon that we need right now. We need a diversion. We need to get away, and you're doing that, and you're also making history. So, big shout out to BET and to Jesse Collins and to you and the whole staff and the whole crew, because you guys are just great. And I just want people to see it. It's American Soul. It comes on tonight on BET, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. And you guys, you're in for a great treat. And it's also on BET On Demand for the first season. And it's just something, if you just want to get away, you want to, you know, relive yesteryears, the 70s. Some of y'all young out there, y'all need to know some history. Young ones. I see you.
You know what? Hey, and shout out to you too. I mean, like, obviously, like, this is your audience and you guys follow her so much. And thank you for supporting her, because she's such a beautiful soul and a beautiful light. But if you don't know her story, if you don't know her test, then you don't understand her testimony. And I got caught up. So shout out to you for representing all of us, because the entrepreneurship that we were talking about lives in you.
Oh,
being an engineer, to moving to be, yo, listen.
You've been reading the whole. You done read the
I did
book.
a little bit of research.
Thank you so much for your time. I know it's valuable, but this really is going to inspire so many people, and we're going to keep watching. And you know, you're going to be doing other things, other movies. You always have a support system in me, and we'll see you this fall on the reel. Okay.
Let's go. I'm there anytime you need me.
I love you, Sinqua. Take care. Bye-bye. That was Sinqua Walls, y'all, of American Soul. Oh, wasn't he great? He is brilliant. So make sure y'all check that out.